What is up, guys? Technicals Tinkers here, checking in on our little 3D print operation for today. Just a guy doing a 3D print thing here at home, seeing if I can find products to print, sell, and make a little extra side income. So let's see what I got on the plates. All right, so a few different things here today. Over here on the P1P, we've got the end of our another Gooner Coomer doll sort of thing. I sell these on a separate Etsy. They're like sexy doll models, so probably just gonna show the head on this one and pop the rest of it in later. But this came out pretty good. Again, bamboo matte PLA, which is my preferred for these character models. A little, you know, I do these plate pulls live. This overhang here leaves quite a lot to be desired. I don't like it when it prints face down, but this like avoids a lot of supports. And kind of my thinking with a lot of these character models is it's just kind of like, it is what it is, go for it and mark the price down. That's not really working out, so I guess probably increase the supports here, or maybe just leave the door open and get some better cooling on these overhangs. Because this matte PLA, will it ever focus? I don't know. Because these overhangs here obviously are not, they're too overhangy to really stick right. The rest of the model looks pretty good, very contrasty and demarcated. Over here on the A1, we've got, this is a whole plate of armor pieces for that dummy 13. Take a look at that in a second. The dummy 13 is like an articulated toy model type thing. Did these armor pieces smaller. Now, if you recall, I did the skeleton section, but I was having problems with cracking trying to print it at 500%. So I'm doing a model at 300%, and I'm having more success with that. And I already put the skeleton together, and then later I found out you have to put the armor pieces on before you pop the skeleton together. So gonna see if I can take them apart and put these armor pieces on. But doing this all over here on the A1, again, this is only like a test, a trial run. So everything is this is a 300% size. I was able to fit everything on the plate. So that's good too, in case I want to sell a 300% of size model. A dummy 13 is an attribution model, so anybody can sell it. It's on printables, I believe, and there's lots of examples of it. There's several listings on Etsy. So I was thinking maybe in an effort to kind of differentiate myself a little bit, maybe doing some of the armor pieces in some fancier filaments. Like maybe I got this giant arm blue silk here that looks really nice. I've also got, I really like this Sunlu Gold PLA. Might look good there too, or maybe some combinations of colors. I really like the idea of this model, selling it as well, because despite having to assemble it, it's something where you could print you know, a bunch of pieces of it. You could print a bunch of skeletons, a bunch of armors. You could put them in bins and mix and match and go from there. And the price to sell it seems pretty good, and you could also fit it in a pretty tight package. So it's kind of an ideal product. You're doing more work on the front end by the assembly and just overall like putting all these things on the plate, but once you have the project saved, you just send it to print and go from there. On the Giga, let's check the status on our big old moai head. So we're down to 28 hours left, so just a bit over a day. We are on spool number, what is this, 1, 2, 3, I think we're in our 4th spool right now, so 3 spools, 3 whole spools left to go. Looking pretty good. Again, it's, you know, run out, and I've had to refill it several times, but the model's coming out pretty good. This titanium finish looks nice. Got the time lapse going over here. Got my, I set up my little placard. I just leaned it over on a spool. But overall, that's looking pretty good. And you know, with these giant prints, I've said before, I've got a lot of anxiety about swapping out the spools, you know, when it runs out, because that's kind of like, you know, a dangerous time. Like something could happen, the spool could get caught, that, you know, hook could get caught in the spool and it could not trigger the run out sensor, things like that. It's happened before, and it's just with 7 or, you know, 6 spool changes throughout the course of this print. That's 6 different times that something could go wrong. So I've been lucky thus far not having any of that happen. This is looking great. Once again, thanks to you, Joy Bio. If you like the look of that filament, you want to buy some, links in the description. All right, so let's take our pieces here. This is my super scientific transporting method. I just take the pieces and stuff them in my pocket. Is that how you guys do it? So I'm gonna pull these off the plate. You know, maybe I could get a little, you know, there's a box sitting right here. You could use the box, Technicals. I'm gonna put these in the box, and let's take it in the office and pop it together. right, so I'm here underneath my desk where I sit. I was talking in the previous video about putting the Flashforge Adventurer 5M Pro here under my desk. I'm actually loving this setup, so I mean that's definitely a +1 for this particular model because it's so small and like contained. I've just got it under here. I mean, this is, you know, where I sit. Just having it right here, like if I need to prototype something real quick and just throw it to the print, it's just right here, and it's not all that noisy, and it's got that top patch where I can look down in it, and I don't have to worry about if I'm, you know, eating a Nutri-Grain bar and, you know, pieces flying off, and, you know, I don't have to worry about it falling in the print. So right now I'm doing a Popsocket phone stand, and that's kind of like another type of thing that I was gonna talk about, like exploring different types of products. So this is it. It's literally a Popsocket phone stand that you put like on your desk. This is an attribution model off Thingiverse. There's a few of them, and I'm testing this one out because I kind of like the aesthetic a little bit more. And, you know, like originally I started out because I've got this thing here that holds my phone, and it just moves around, and it kind of doesn't stay put. And also when I put my phone on it, the pop socket I have on my phone kind of gets in the way and it falls off. So I got this in hopes of like bolting it down to my desk to where it's like permanently affixed and it won't move around, which kind of led me into thinking, like, you know, why don't you just try selling it? It's an attribution model, you can upload it, and I look on Etsy, and there's a couple Popsocket stands like meant for the desk, or more than a couple, you know, a handful. And I'm like, you know, they're selling for like on the very, very cheap end, like $10, and most of those, most of anything that I've seen that's under like $15 doesn't have free shipping attached to it. It's like, you know, it's that charm pricing, and then you pay shipping, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll try that, because I've typically been going for models and I offer free shipping on them, but I have to account for that, and I have to account for how far away it is. So I think what I'm gonna do, because this model doesn't take a lot of filament, 25 grams, and I'm printing it solid, I'm just gonna print out 1 or 2, and I actually punch some holes in it so people can mount it to the desk, include a couple screws, and just throw it on there and see what happens. You know, because I've been really fussing over a lot of these bigger models, more intricate, and this is like very low-hanging fruit. A lot of people have pop sockets, a lot of people have desks. They have examples on Amazon, but they're like on the low end, like 20 bucks for a nice, you know, pop socket phone stand, which is normally what I would get, but it's like I can have this in 30 minutes, or I can wait until tomorrow or the next day to get it off Amazon. Isn't that amazing? Like, you know, now 2-day shipping isn't fast enough. Now I need it in 30 minutes or less. So I'm trying that out. I think I'm just gonna throw it on the Etsy and see what happens, and, you know, maybe follow through on that. And if it works, then, you know, I could fit 20 of these on a plate, and it costs virtually nothing. So it's one of those high volume, low markup type items, which I typically don't like, but gonna give it a shot regardless. All right, and so let's get our Gooner doll, our Gooner doll out of the way. Yeah, I know, a lot of people don't like this. I understand, I appreciate it. So again, matte PLA all the way through on this, and if ever I print anything that's like a human or something, this matte PLA all day. The hair maybe in the black, in like a shinier black PLA, like a standard or a high speed or something that would give it a sheen. But when doing these matte on mattes, you know, supports come off like a dream. Again, the overhangs are like, they're kind of on the edge. It's like, you know, I need to reprint this, but, you know, I'm just gonna kind of go with it and see what happens. Probably mark the price way down on this, because, you know, obviously that's a cooling issue. Now my P1P is not fully enclosed, but I do have that front door there, and that's really just to keep like debris and stuff from getting in there. So I'm wondering, like, she was face down here. You can see, the overhangs are pretty bad. I'm wondering though, let's give it a shot. Want to see me ruin a print live on camera? So this is kind of my smoothing trick here. Got this bad overhang. I'm just gonna hit it with the torch and smush it with my finger. So, ready? Let's try not to burn the lens. Let's just heat her up and then smoosh her down. So, unfortunately burned it a little bit, but ignore the burn. But look at the, touch the torch to my skin. Oh man. All right, so obviously it burned it a little bit, but it's more about the smoothing. You know, I could probably accomplish the same thing with like a heat gun, or maybe just don't, you know, torch it as violently. I mean, that works out pretty good for smoothing. You know, I just have to refine my technique, but, you know, how it was previously versus, you know, again, heat gun is probably ideal for this versus something like that. I'm not sure I can really do that same thing with her ear because it's like there's nooks and crannies in there. I got a little bit of that matte filament here on her hair. And a finer layer height is probably ideal, but this is a 0.2. So increased cooling, finer layer height, I think I'd be good. But overall, like that smoothing trick actually works kind of good. I'm kind of discouraged that it does work so good, because I feel like in the future I'm going to be like, oh yeah, Matt, just burn it with a torch over and over again. I mean, this is typically what I just do for stringing instead of using a heat gun. Because my heat gun's in my building and I have this right here, and this is kind of more badass. So anyway, Gunardal V2.0. Let's see if I can do this. So she's like standing up and she's got a big bow on her. That's her. And so this model is actually pretty balanced. So I'm gonna throw this over on the DGen Prints Etsy. I'm just gonna keep adding to that Etsy. It gets a lot of traffic, you know, admittedly. Not a lot of sales, but a lot of traffic, and I think it's because I'm priced really high. Like I priced these at like 80 bucks. And they, in the end up costing me like $7, $8 to print per unit. And that's like all said. So I'm way overpriced on it. It's just, I overpriced because it takes so long to print them. Like the filament cost is very low, but the time cost is huge. And I've kind of refined it down to where the post-processing's not that bad. Like this is just straight glue it together. So I'm probably gonna do some pricing revisions over on those, but I'm just gonna keep adding to it as I move along. And so Dummy 13, unfortunately, again, I put the skeleton all together, but this is his skeleton. I did all this in PETG on the FLSun T1Pro. I've got it out in my building now. Here, let's roll the side quest on that one. All right, beloved, we got the FLSun T1Pro here, beep beep, in the building. So again, I was out of space. And if I get an S1 coming in, or really any other printers, I just gotta start putting them in here. There's no room in the garage, and I don't want printers peppered around my house, making noise and vibrating and stuff like that. So just gonna put it here in the building, put a little piece of OSB back there, to kind of like a little backer to clean up the shot. You know, I can kind of like zoom in and make it look not as utilitarian as everything else. So my 2.5 gigahertz should reach out here without any issues. Shouldn't have to like put an extender or repeater or anything. I got Starlink in this building, but that's, you know, its own. It's got its own problems. So I'm gonna run a calibration on here, some resonance testing and everything, make sure everything's all like squared up. I bolted the table into the studs, put a couple blocks over there. So the table, you see that thing moving? It's not moving. It's not moving. It's solid. So gonna do a calibration here and then beep beep. Because it's all enclosed, I'm not too worried about temperature variance. It's the middle of winter right now, but my crypto miners over there keep the building pretty warm. So that's good. And in the summer I have exhaust fans that keep it relatively cool, but again, enclosed. So that works, that's good. So I think we're gonna have success out here. And it's, you know, kind of like its own dedicated space for this model, because it's tall. It's about 33 inches tall. So I'm gonna work on that and we'll see how it works. So yeah, I got that out there, and that kind of makes a huge difference. Now I can kind of devote a little more space to it, especially if I get any other printers. I can put them out there and have sort of a dedicated space to sort of review them. But doing this all on the T1Pro, 2 hours for every single one of these components. And you know, that might not seem like a lot, but that's a lot of perimeter walls. It's a lot of perimeter walls. This on a bamboo, it would have taken probably 4, maybe 5 hours on the A1. But I've got this here now, and again, like I was saying, unfortunately, I've got to take this all apart to put it together. But let's pop his head on. So that's his head, and you can kind of get the vibe there. Let's just, let's time lapse this. Cool beans, that took a little while, but we got our Dummy 13 here. I'm actually quite impressed. You know, if you're unfamiliar with these, again, they're on printables. but like, you know, every part articulates like a human form would, you know, bends, flexes, you can pose them and sit them, and they have different sort of hand models that you can use to kind of just, you know, have them there. And again, the one I saw on Etsy, it said the most expensive one I saw on Etsy was a 20, it said 27 inches, and they were selling it for like 90 bucks. I'm not sure if they were selling it as a kit or what. Let's measure him. Let's see how tall he is. It's my tape measure. I was thinking, I always look so fat in these videos. I'm not fat. I have a disorder that makes me eat ice cream. So this one's 16 tall, so that's at 300%. So I imagine the 500% model is probably closer to that 27. And again, you have to tool with it, the joints on the anything over 500% to get it to snap in correctly. But that's pretty cool. And I was thinking too of you know, maybe print them in the color combination, like the life size example. You know, I don't have my service dress uniform on today, but you know, just do khaki pants, black polo, maybe a little blue dot right there, and kind of make them a little technicals version. But yeah, 18 inches tall, wingspan probably about, you know, the same. That's a pretty cool model, and wasn't that hard to put together now that I kind of know what's what and kind of learn about things here. But you know, I think that's a winner, if not just to do in a life-size version, to, you know, maybe sell for a lot, you know, a version like this, because that's super cool. You know, I think a lot of people might have some enjoyment out of that, especially if you maybe find some attribution versions of, like, you know, armor variants, or, you know, maybe even like, you know, face likenesses or something. Ready? You ready for this? Boom. No, just kidding. Anyway, gonna be exploring that today. Gonna be hopefully working on the skulls. Again, gonna be putting up a post today, and this will come out many days before, but kind of looking at transitioning, sort of, you know, it's kind of the plan always to kind of transition away from the daily vlog into more some dedicated content. And I think maybe that's the time to do it, because the channel's grown quite a lot quicker than I thought it would, even though I'm still pretty decently small. But be sure to look out for that, and, you know, vote on that post, even though it's like a week old at this point. But that's what I'm working on today. I'd love to know what you're working on in the comments below. Be sure to like the video, because it's the nice thing to do, and subscribe for more content like this. I'm the Technicals. See you next time.